I would say that, in my opinion, there are some things that are good to divide over, whether they're political or cultural or religious. I'm a I'm a Protestant, and I know some people who watch this are gonna be like, "Oh, cringe, bad. I don't want to listen to a Protestant talk, a prot." I'm like, no, I'm a proud Protestant, and people on my own side will be like, "You're not actually a Protestant because you're, whatever, low church, whatever." And I'm like, I'm kind of like in between. Anyway, that's a whole other conversation. Um, the Protestant Reformation and the split between the Eastern Orthodox and the Roman Catholic Church. Those were separations and divisions for good reason, because both saw a corruption. Both saw a corruption of the current system that they were involved in, to the point where they thought it was unsalvageable, or they wouldn't have the influence necessary to change things for the positive, and so they were either excommunicated or they split off. So sometimes these doctrinal issues are good for us to divide over. So, for example, this is a great example for Mormons and Christians. Mormons, we can seek unity as co-belligerents in in, let's say, political matters or cultural issues. Like I will go arms length with a Mormon if we're talking about, hey, let's try and end abortion. But I will not give credibility to their theology or to their movement, because I think it's heretical, and I think it is not. It's not the gospel. It's actually anti-gospel. And so I will unite with them to a certain degree, but I'm going to divide from them with the weightier matters. And so division is actually good because it keeps certain things pure. The Bible talks about, not in like 2 Corinthians, to not be unequally yoked. What does light have to do with the darkness? You can't intermingle them. They're not meant to be, together in some kind of like intrinsic way, or like have fellowship with one another, light and darkness. I'm just going to skip all these cutscenes. And so division in and of itself isn't anti-biblical. Like, again, the 11th commandment is thou shalt be kind, right? Everyone says that. And it's not the case. Thou shalt be kind, or thou shalt not divide for any reason. Thou shalt not be divisive. I think there's problems with divisive people within Orthodox, and by Orthodox I mean like small o Orthodox Christianity, where they'll cause divisions and dissensions for secondary issues over secondary issues, but and that's not healthy. That's not healthy for a church. It's not healthy for an organization. That's not healthy for any kind of movement or political party, whatever. But all that being said, Christians should divide over issues that are primary and morally significant. In the same way that how can two political parties that see completely opposite in an extremely important issue like abortion, for example, how can one political party say to the other, hey, we're going to shake hands, we're going to work together on these things, we're not going to combat your bad ideas for the sake of fiscal unity, when one party's advocating for more abortion and one party's advocating for an elimination of it. And even then, I would say like the division is so deep now with Christianity, or not with Christianity, with political parties, at least in the U.S. In Canada, it's a little bit more blurry. But in Canada, or in the U.S., you have one party that is like explicitly, we want to expand abortion, and another one that's saying explicitly, we want to remove abortion. We want to limit it, at least to a certain degree. You can't find unity with that. And then you have at the same time that same division where I said, fiscal, whatever, like financial issues is not as big of a deal. Like, well, like now they don't even have the same financial end in mind. So how do you really cross the aisle anymore? It's like you can't. And that's really what people are talking about when they say, like, you got to know what time it is we're no longer living in this time where there's like a moral kind of common root or foundation that everyone kind of agrees upon. We're not in that time anymore. That's gone. That's in the past. We're now in a time where the two sides, political, social, cultural, religious, they want two completely different visions for society. They want two completely different visions for the family. For economics is a whole other thing. But like when it comes to the weightier things, we want completely different things. Our ends are now different, and we can't even agree on a moral foundation anymore. And so it's very difficult, if not impossible, to find some kind of like unity with these two sides, because the goals are completely different.